Hey guys, Ryan here from Deeper Than the Backlog podcast. Today we're going to start a new series on Kanban. It's going to be a six-part series, and then we'll interleave some practical application interviews in here as well. But we're going to focus on six distinct parts of Kanban, and it's really to help everybody jumpstart, your practical application into using Agile, whether you're doing it for yourself, your family, from a personal standpoint. You could be doing it for business, for teams, for technical projects, really applicable anywhere. And the very easiest way to jump start any type of Agile management process. So let's get started here. You are seeing the screen right now, which is really the most simplistic Kanban board you could put up. And before we dive in, though, I want to give a little bit of history. I forgot to kind of step back. Kanban was started way, way back, 40s, early 1940s, for Toyota. And they actually use this process to try and become more efficient, visually be able to see the work that people were working on and the flow of work, and then get a nice collaborative kind of feedback process. And so it's been around for a long time. Is the point? This is not brand new, and it's a very easy and quick method to be able to get some nice, solid results from whether you're managing projects, tasks, teams, personal, etc. And I did talk about the six parts we're going to go into. So at a high level, the six parts are visualizing work. We're going to talk about that today real quick. These will be short video snippets. Um, Part two is going to be around limiting WIP, which is work in progress, very important component of Agile. And then managing flow is three. Putting specific processes, policies, rules around how each of your Kanban columns work. We'll talk about columns in a second. Having a feedback loop is five, and then six is improving collaboration. Whether it's yourself, you can collaborate with your family, or communicate with your family, so they're in the loop on priorities and what needs to be done, or team or business groups. So we'll hit all of those, but today we're just going to really zoom into visualizing work. And so what you see here is the most simplest form of a Kanban board. And in Kanban, is a Japanese term that really just means signboard. So you can kind of visualize the work, where the work is, and how the work is progressing, or tasks are progressing throughout whatever flow you develop. And in here, the simplest thing you can do is create a to-do column, in progress column, and then a done column. So your work flows left to right, going from to-do, in progress, to done. Very important you have this in progress, because you want to limit, which is we'll talk about in step two or part two, but you want to limit the amount of tasks that are actually in progress, allowing you to become more efficient. And we do have a really cool podcast on, focusing on single activities or tasks versus multitasking. And you can kind of do the activity yourself and improve to yourself that you're more efficient if you prioritize and focus on single activities versus trying to do 5-10 things at the same time. I think that's episode 4, Deeper Than the Backlog. Go check that out on whatever podcast platform you use. So here, what you can see, I just threw up, this is a simple mock-up, threw up a bunch of tasks that I needed to do today. Need to cut the lawn, practice guitar, I have a doctor's appointment at 3 p.m. and then I have to send out some meeting agenda for our homeowners association board. And so I've put this, just thrown this up. And the most important part is that you put this in a priority order. So generally top to bottom priority order. This is probably not in priority order right now. So my doctor's appointment is pretty important. I do need to send that out today. Probably cutting the lawn so my neighbors don't complain, and then practicing guitar. So that's probably the priority I would like these to be completed in. So very important. Step one, put in priority order. And then step two is you want to focus on what are you going to work on, right away. Well, your doctor's appointment, at 3 o'clock, you can't really do much. You just have to have a reminder that you're going to be going there at 3. So what can I do right now? I can start working on my board meeting agenda and get those emailed out to all the board members. So what you want to do is just move that over to in progress, and then you start working on it. And then simply once you're done, you want to move over to done. So that's been completed. I've sent out, my board meeting minutes or board meeting agenda email. And then you can move over your next task into the in progress and start working on that. So the cool thing about that is this board and this view is that it's all visually there, right? In one place, you can kind of look, you can see everything in one glance where it is. You get a little bit of a sense of accomplishment. You can see the done column and what you've completed. And then also you do see what is left on your to-dos for the day or week or whatever you're using this time frame to manage. And then you can add in things if we wanted to add another task into here, because things come up all the time, right? So maybe something came up and you have to meet friends for dinner tonight. So you can put that in there. It just depends how granular you want to track your activity and tasks. So again, the simplest form you can do: what do I have to do? What am I actually working on now? And then what is complete? And in part two, we'll talk a little bit about this in progress column, because this is where you want to limit the activities in progress. Generally, you don't want to have more than one or two at the same time. The exception you'd have more than one would be in this case, where you have a doctor's appointment. There's not really much I can do until 3 o'clock, but I know it's one of my most important things I need to do today. So I'll put that one, and then I'll add a second one, which I can actually work on right now. But in general, you're going to want to have just, very minimally one, maybe a maximum of two items, tasks, chores, development activities, team, requirement activities in a in progress column. So that is, again, the very simplest form. And there is another way you can make this a little bit more advanced. And this would be the reason I left this kind of extended column out here is let's make another column, and we'll call this done. And then let's make something called waiting. So this could be waiting on yourself. It could be waiting on, someone else to do something before you can actually do something. And so this is the one time where you would go, for example, from waiting back to in progress. So you could go backwards on this, not all the time though. Sometimes, for example, you've done something, you've completed a task, you've completed the item you're working on, but you need someone else's input or feedback on it. You would move that over to waiting, and then as soon as you got that, you'd move it to done. So in that case, you'd go in progress, waiting, done. So you're just moving left to right. But in this case, I'm waiting until 3 o'clock so I can go to my doctor's appointment. So that's kind of a real example of where you use waiting, or if you're dependent on someone else to complete your task or item or chore, you could also have it in the waiting column. So this would be a little bit more advanced Kanban board, but it's super helpful when you're starting out, because a lot of times you do have items you're working on where you are dependent on something partially outside of your control. And so you'll add that waiting column. And we'll talk a lot more about how you can make these more advanced as well. Now, one question we generally get on Kanban is, okay, that's great, but if I want to do this for my family, for example, or a team, I say I have a team of 5 people or a family of 4. I need 4 Kanban boards for my family of 4. I need 5 Kanban boards for my team. No, absolutely not. So real quick, what we can do here is you can do these horizontal dividers and create what's called swim lanes. So, for example, you could create swim lane going left to right, and maybe this is all mine, and then maybe this is all Christine's tasks. And then, so what you're doing is essentially in your own swim lane, you're marching left to right your specific tasks. So you could have as many swim lanes as you want and manage it that way. So you're still using one Kanban board. But what's really neat about this is, again, visually, you're seeing all the items and work on people's plates, depending whether it's family or team, project based, but you get everything in a nice single visual. So you can just add your swim lanes for as many people as you want on that board. No need to have multiple, 4, 5, 6 different Kanban boards. So that is the simplest way we can do it. Swim lanes, very important. Again, Kanban's just signboard showing us the work and then managing it going across. I did want to touch base just real quick on a couple different tools you can use. I'm just using a really easy mock-up tool for demonstration. There are some electronic tools you can use. Trello is a wonderful tool. I've used that for a lot of Kanban boards. Or, the easiest way to start is just right behind me. You can see a physical board. I have a whiteboard, literally using sticky notes, and I stand up and move them across the board that way. And anytime there's a new task, I'll create a new sticky note, paste it up there. And then very easy to move around. Sticky notes, you can be fluid with them, change priority pretty quick. So you have the manual method, using whiteboard. You could use a chalkboard, just anything physical that you can touch and move around. Magnets work great. Sticky notes work great. Or you can move to an electronic based. Trello is good. A lot of the Agile tools that are out there have built-in Kanban features, so you can research a number of the different Agile tools out there. But it's very easy to use. They all have the same standard capabilities. You can make the Kanban boards as simple or as complex as you need. So I think we've covered all the topics for part 1. Didn't want to dive too deep. So that's visualizing work. Next time we're going to talk about WIP limits, WIP, not the whip you whip people with, but the WIP, work in progress limits, which really apply to the in progress. But in Kanban, you can actually apply them to all of the different columns as well. And you can use this to manage daily, manage weekly. You set the timeline. You can manage projects this way. A lot of development teams, IT teams, software development teams utilize Kanban for what they call sprints, which, if you're familiar with Scrum, the sprints can be 1 week, 2 weeks, 3, 4 weeks. You set a distinct timeline where you repeat that cadence every so often. So you can apply Kanban to any of those timeframes. But from a personal standpoint, managing your family or your own tasks daily and weekly tend to work wonderful. That's what I use. I generally use a weekly type deal and reset it every Sunday. I reprioritize. Sometimes you have to reprioritize, daily depending on changes, but weekly tends to work for me. Any questions, reach out. We are out on YouTube. Please subscribe. We'll be posting this video on YouTube so you can watch it there. We'll also post the audio on our podcast channel, so you'll be able to hear it there if you want to hear it, view it, either way or both ways. Instagram, go out, reach out on Instagram. We post occasionally there. And then we do have a website, so you can reach out at our website, learn a little bit more about us. And we do also have links to all our podcasts and videos there as well, deeperthanthebacklog.com. And if you have topic ideas, suggestions, things you want to hear us talk about, or just general feedback, we're looking to improve. And so just shoot us an email at feedback@deeperthanthebacklog.com. All right, we'll see you next time on not episode, part 2 of Kanban, where we talk about WIP limits. See ya.